Elevated levels of lead found in 1/3 of tested cinnamon samples. 1. A dozen of the 36 products tested by Consumer Reports had high levels of lead, measured above 1 part per million of lead. The threshold that triggers a recall in New York, the only state in the US that regulates heavy metals in spices.
2. Exposure to lead is of greatest concern in children and during pregnancy because it can damage the brain and nervous system, causing developmental delays, learning and behavior problems, and more. Frequent lead exposure has been linked to immune system suppression, reproductive issues, kidney damage, and hypertension.
3. What can you do? Throw away Paris cinnamon powder, EGN cinnamon powder, Mimi's products ground cinnamon, Bowl, and Basket ground cinnamon, Ronnie brand ground cinnamon, Zara Foods cinnamon powder, Three Rivers cinnamon stick powder, Yu Yi brand 5 spice powder, Bei Li Feng 5 spice powder, Spicy King 5 spices powder, Badia cinnamon powder, deep cinnamon powder. Just a quarter teaspoon of any of those products has more level of lead than you should consume in an entire day. Even small amounts of lead pose a risk because, over time, it can accumulate in the body and remain there for years, seriously harming health.
Buy cinnamon with the lowest lead levels in Consumer Reports tests. These brands have lowest levels of lead. 365 Whole Foods Market Organic Ground Cinnamon, Sothoth Cinnamon Powder, Morton and Bassett San Francisco 100% Organic Ground Cinnamon, Loisa Organic Cinnamon. 365 Whole Foods Market Ground Cinnamon or Sothoth 7 Spice. Don't rely on labels like organic, or rely on where the cinnamon comes from. Department of Agriculture's organic standards don't include heavy metal testing. Selecting cinnamon based on where it comes from is no guarantee either. Be cautious about bringing cinnamon home from travels abroad.
Be wary of taking cinnamon as a health aid. Studies showing possible health benefits from cinnamon, such as lowering blood sugar or inflammation, involve taking higher amounts than what's typically used in cooking and baking. Up to 3 teaspoons. That's 12 servings of cinnamon. That would be okay with only a few of the very best cinnamons based on Consumer Report tests. Limit your potential exposure to any levels of lead from all sources. A major route of exposure can be drinking water. Consider testing your water for levels of lead and arsenic and, if levels are high, consider installing a water filter. Vary the foods you eat. Switching up your diet may help you avoid overconsumption of high level of lead or other heavy metals from any one food or spice. In addition, it will help ensure that you get enough vitamin C, as well as minerals like calcium, iron, selenium, and zinc, all of which can reduce how much level of lead the body absorbs.
4. How high level of lead contaminates cinnamon? Cinnamon comes from the inner bark of trees that belong to the genus Cinnamomum. Heavy metals are naturally occurring elements in the Earth's crust. Any natural product that comes into contact with soil or groundwater has the potential to take up trace amounts of lead that cannot be removed. Soil can also be contaminated with lead from industrial byproducts. Whatever lead is in the bark can become concentrated in the finished product during the drying process. Nearly all cinnamon sold in the U.S. is imported, with most of it coming from Indonesia, Sri Lanka, and Vietnam. Those countries may have fewer regulations or enforcement regarding chemical contaminants like pesticides or industrial byproducts. It could also enter cinnamon from processing equipment, storage containers, or packaging. There's no way to remove lead from the cinnamon or any herb, spice, or food for that matter once it is present, or to prevent the trees from absorbing lead from the soil in which it is grown.
5. There are currently no federal limits for levels of lead in cinnamon or other spices. New York State set a 1 part per million limit for lead in spices in 2016. Any spice over that limit is subject to recall by the state. In fact, New York State has since recalled more than 100 spices due to heavy metal contamination.
Thank you for listening. Subscribe to Diseases Simplified for more health tips and updates.